Hazrat Miswar bin Makhrama and Marwan report testifying each other. Allah's Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam went out in the year of Hudaybiyah till they reached a place. So he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Khalid bin Walid with the cavalry of Quraysh constituting the front line troops is at the place called Ghamim. You should take the route on the right side. By Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, Khalid did not know the arrival of them till the dust arising due to the march of the army informed him. Then he went hurriedly to alarm the Quraysh, and the Prophet ﷺ continued advancing till he reached the hill, the mountain pass, through which people descended to Makkah Mukarramah, and his she-camel knelt down. The people tried to cause it to get up and move, but she got stuck to the ground. They said, Qaswa has become jadid. Qaswa has become exhausted. But the Prophet ﷺ said, Qaswa has neither got tired nor it is her characteristic, but he Jalla Jalaluhu, who stopped the elephant of Abraha named Mahmud, has stopped it. He then said, by him in whose possession my soul is, if the idolaters of Makkah ask me anything by which they honor what Allah Jalla Jalaluhu has made sacred, I will fulfill their demand. Then he sallallahu alaihi wasallam urged it, Qaswa, and it leaped up, and he sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned aside and continued the journey till he stopped at the farthest point of Hudaybiyah called Thamad, where there was a pool with little water. People collected the water in small amount from it, and it exhausted. The complaint of thirst was made to Allah's Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he drew an arrow from his quiver and asked them to put it in that pit. So by Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, the water started gushing out from it, and all the people got satiated. While they were in that condition, Budayl bin Warqa Khuzai came along with such persons of Khuza people who were well-wisher of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and belonged to Tihama. He submitted, I found Ka'ab bin Loy and Amir bin Loy staying by the deep pools of Hudaybiyah, and they had milch, she-camels and goods in abundance. They are there to fight with you and prevent you from Allah's house. In reply, Allah's Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, we have not come to fight with anyone, rather we have come only to perform Umrah. Isn't it a fact that war has inverted the Quraysh and caused them irreparable loss? If they wish, I am ready to fix with them a period of time, peace accord, so that they must not intervene in my and other people's affairs. If I achieve dominance, they may embrace the religion as other people have done. On the contrary, they may remain adamant, and if they negated it, by him in whose possession my soul is, I will keep on fighting with them regarding this religion till I may be martyred, and Allah Jalla Jalaluhu will definitely uphold his religion. Budayl said, whatever you have said, I will soon convey it to those people, Quraysh of Makkah. Then he went away, and reaching the Quraysh, he said, we have come to you from that person and heard something from him. If you wish, he will narrate it to you. Some blockheads out of them said, we have no need to listen to any of his statement. But the think tank said, narrate whatever you have heard him saying. Budayl said, he has said this and that, and he narrated all without any distortion what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. Hearing it, Urwa bin Masud stood up and said, O people, aren't you like a father for me? They said, of course. He said, am I not like your kids? They said, of course. He said, do you mistrust me? The people replied in the negative. He said, do not you know when I summoned the people of Ukaz for your support, and when they did not come, I brought my family members and my sons and my servants to you? The people replied, yes, you did so. He said, then you should accede to my request that that man, Allah's Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has put forward a useful suggestion to you. So you must accept it and permit me to go to him for negotiation. The people said, you may go. He, Urwa, went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and started negotiating with the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ repeated the same statement which he made to Budayl, whereupon Urwa said, O Muhammad, suppose if you extirpate the foundation of your people, have you ever heard about any Arab who may have debilitated his people? And if the reverse occurred, then by Allah, I am observing its signs, because I am watching the people from a variety of strata who will flee away, leaving you alone. At this, Hazrat Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, reprimanding him with harsh words, said, Suck the private part of Lat, an idol. Will we flee away from him and leave him all alone? He, Urwa, asked, Who is he? The people said, It is Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu. He said, Had there not been your favor on me which I have not yet reciprocated, I would have certainly given you a reply. The reporter Hazrat Miswar bin Makhrama says, Then he resumed his talk with the Prophet ﷺ. But whenever he would talk, he would touch the Prophet's beard. Hazrat Mughira bin Shuba radiyallahu anhu, holding a sword in his hand and wearing a helmet on his head, was then standing by the Prophet ﷺ. So every time Urwa touched the Prophet's beard with his hand, Mughira hit his hand with the handle of the sword and said, Urwa, keep your hand off the beard of Allah's Apostle ﷺ. Urwa raised his glance and saw, then asked, Who is he? The people said, He is Hazrat Mughira bin Shuba. He said, O traitor, didn't I strive to save you from the evil consequences of your treachery? Hazrat Mughira made friends with some persons in the period of ignorance, then later on killed them and robbed them of their valuables. Thereafter, he came to the Prophet ﷺ and embraced Islam. Whereupon the Prophet ﷺ said, I accept your Islam, but I have nothing to do with goods. Then Urwa started observing the Prophet's companions. The reporter states, By Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, every time he ﷺ spat it, the spittle came directly on the hand of any of the companions who rubbed it on his face and body. And no sooner did he command for something to do than it was followed. Whenever he ﷺ performed ablution, it seemed they would fight with one another for getting the used water dropping from his body. And when he spoke, they kept their voices low before him and did not look at him with fixed gaze due to extreme respect for him. Then Urwa returned to his people and said to them, O people, by Allah, I have gone to the courts of the kings with delegations. I have also visited the courts of Kaisar and Kisra and Najashi. But by Allah, I did never see a king whose companions might respect him in the fashion of Muhammad's companions. By Allah, whenever he spits, his spittle falls on nothing but the palm of a man which he applies on to his face and body. Whenever he issues any command, his command is readily obeyed. When he performs ablution, it seems that people will get ready to fight with one another for getting the used water. They keep their voices low in his presence, and they, due to supreme respect for him, cannot fix their gaze at him. He has put forward to you a nice suggestion, so you should accept it. Then a man belonging to Banu Kinaha said, Let me go there. The people said, You may also go. When he reached near the Prophet ﷺ and his companions, the Prophet ﷺ said, It is so and belongs to a tribe which respects the sacrificial camels, so pass the sacrificial animals in front of him. So it was done, and when he heard the people pronouncing Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, he said, Glory be to Allah. It is not appropriate to prevent such people from visiting the Kaaba. So when he returned to his people, he said, I saw that the animals had been garlanded and marked. I think it is not appropriate to prevent such people from the Kaaba. Then a man out of them named Mikraz bin Hafs got up and said, Allow me too to go to them. The people said, You may go too. When he reached near them, the Prophet ﷺ said, It is Mikraz, who is a depraved man. Then he started talking to the Prophet ﷺ. Just then Suhail bin Amr arrived. Maimar says, Ayyub informed me with reference to Ikrimah that when Suhail bin Amr came, he ﷺ said to the Muslims, now your task has become easy. Maimar says that Zuhri has said in his narrations, when Suhail bin Amr came, he said, write truce between us and you. So the Prophet ﷺ called for a scribe and commanded him to write down, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. But Suhail said, by Allah, we do not know who is Rahman, so you should write Bismikallahumma, as you would write before. The Muslim said, by Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, we will write down Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. But the Prophet ﷺ said, write only Bismikallahumma. Then he ﷺ said to the scribe to write, this is the decision which Muhammad, Allah's apostle, has made. Suhail said, by Allah, if we had considered you Allah's apostle, why would we have prevented you from the house and fought with you? So write Muhammad bin Abdullah instead. Whereupon the Prophet ﷺ said, by Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, I am surely Allah's apostle ﷺ, though you disbelieve me. Write only Muhammad bin Abdullah. Zuhri says, he ﷺ accepted all these points because he had already declared that he would accept each of their point by which they would honor what Allah Jalla Jalaluhu has made sacred. Thereafter, the Prophet ﷺ said, it is on this condition that you should clear up the way between us and the house, the Kaaba, so that we can perform circumambulation. So Suhail said, by Allah, we will not give the Arabs a chance to say that the Quraysh have become helpless, so perform it next year. So the same was written. Then Suhail said, another condition is this, whosoever among us goes to you, even if he has embraced your religion, you will have to send him back to us. At this, the Muslims spoke up, glory be to Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. How is it possible to return a person who has come after embracing Islam to the polytheists? During this discussion, Abu Jandal bin Suhail bin Amr, escaping from the prison, staggering with the fetters coming from the lower side of Makkah, reached the Muslims. Suhail said, O Muhammad, the first condition of our peace accord is that you may entrust him, Abu Jandal, to us. The Prophet ﷺ said, the truce has not so far been ratified, and it becomes applicable when it gets completed. He, Suhail, said, we will not make peace with you on any issue. The Prophet ﷺ said, okay, give me permission only in his case. He replied, I do not give you any permission. He ﷺ said, do it. He said, I will not do it. Mikraz said, I give you its permission. Abu Jandal protested, O assembled company of the Muslims, will you hand me over to the polytheists, whereas I have come to you after embracing Islam? Don't you see what I have suffered and what sort of anguish and agony have been inflicted on me for the cause of Allah? The reporter says that Hazrat Umar bin Khattab said, I visited the Prophet ﷺ and said, is not you a true prophet of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu? He ﷺ said, why not? I submitted, O Allah's apostle, aren't we right and they wrong? He ﷺ said, why not? I submitted, then why should we remain subdued in our religious affairs? He ﷺ said, I am Allah's apostle ﷺ and cannot transgress, and he Jalla Jalaluhu is my supporter. I submitted, did not you tell us that we would soon visit the Kaaba and make circuit of it? He ﷺ said, why not? But did I say that we will visit it this very year? He, Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu, said that he said no. He ﷺ said, then you will definitely visit the Kaaba and make a circuit of it. He, Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu, said, then I visited Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and submitted, O Abu Bakr, isn't he ﷺ a true prophet of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu? He said, why not? I submitted, aren't we right and our enemies wrong? He said, why not? I submitted, then why should we remain suppressed? He said, O man, he is Allah's apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam and does not disobey his Lord, and he sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his supporter. So remain steadfast in his obedience, for by Allah Jalla Jalaluhu he is in the right. I submitted, did not he tell us that we would visit the Kaaba and make a circuit of it? He radiallahu anhu said, of course, but did he inform us that we would visit it this very year? I submitted, no, he did not say so. Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu said, be sure, you will go and make a circuit. Zohri says that Hazrat Umar Farooq radiallahu anhu said, I had to perform many good deeds as expiation for this argument. The reporter says, after the consummation of the treaty, Allah's Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to his companions, get up and make sacrifice and get your heads shaved. The reporter says, by Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, all his companions were so stunned that not a single one of them got up, though he had repeated it thrice. When nobody got up, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam went towards Hazrat Salama radiallahu anha and mentioned this attitude of the Muslims to her. So Hazrat Salama radiallahu anha said, O Allah's Prophet, if you wish, you may go out. Say nothing to any one of them unless you have sacrificed your sacrificial camels and got your head shaved by calling the hairdresser. So he sallallahu alaihi wasallam went out, talked to no one till he sallallahu alaihi wasallam sacrificed his animals, called the hairdresser and got his hair shaved. When the Muslims saw it, they got up, made sacrifices and started shaving the heads of one another. And there was even an apprehension that they might not slay one another due to melancholy. Later on, some women whose being Muslims were not known came, so Allah Jalla Jalaluhu revealed this verse. O believers, when Muslim women come to you from pagan territory leaving their homes, test them. Allah knows better as to their faith. Then if you know them to be believing women, return them not to the infidels. So Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu on that day divorced two such women whom he had married and were found involved in polytheism. One of them was married to Muawiyah bin Sufyan and the other to Safwan bin Umayyah. Thereafter the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached back Medina Munawwara. So a man belonging to Quraysh called Abu Basir came to him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After embracing Islam, the infidel sent two men in his hot pursuit and a message that in accordance with the accord, he, Abu Basir, should be sent back under the escort of these two men. So they set out along with him, and when they reached Zulhulayfa, they stayed there and started eating their dates. Abu Basir said to one of them, by Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, O so and so, I see that this sword of yours is extremely fine. So he took it out of this snake and said, by Allah, of course, it is extremely fine. I have frequently tested it. So Abu Basir said, let me see it. He gave him the sword. Thus he, Hazrat Abu Basir, struck him till he became cold, and the second one fled away till he reached Medina Tayyaba and went running into the mosque. When Allah's Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw him, he said, he seems a bit scared. He went close to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, by Allah, my companion has been killed and I was sure to be killed. Abu Basir also arrived and submitted. O Allah's Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, you fulfilled your responsibility and handed me over to them, but Allah Jalla Jalaluhu saved me from them. Whereupon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, woe to his mother! If there had been any of his supporter, he would have stirred up the war. When he, Hazrat Abu Basir, heard it, he perceived that he would again be returned to the infidels. So he went out and came to the seashore. The reporter says, Abu Jandal also escaped from the polytheists and joined Abu Basir. Then it became a practice that every man of the Quraysh whosoever fled away from their Makkah Mukarramah after embracing Islam joined Abu Basir till they returned into a big band. So by Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, they did not hear of any caravan of the Quraysh going out to Syria, but that they would wait and ambush, kill the people and seize their goods. So the Quraysh sent their envoy to the Prophet ﷺ, adjuring him by Allah and reminding him the ties of kinship to prevent him from doing so, and declared that whoso went away from here after embracing Islam, he would be safe from our side. So the Prophet ﷺ sent them Abu Basir's band, the message. So Allah Jalla Jalaluhu revealed this verse, and it is He who has restrained their hands from you and has restrained your hands from them in the valley of Makkah after He had given you control over them. And Allah sees your doings. They are those who disbelieved and hindered you from the sacred mosque, and the sacrificial animals were detained from reaching their place of sacrifice. And if it had not been for certain believing men and some believing women whom you knew not, that you might have trampled them, and there befall you an harm from them unknowingly, we would have permitted you to fight. This protection of theirs is for that Allah may admit into His mercy whom He pleases. If they had been separated necessarily, then we would have punished the infidels among them with a painful punishment. When the infidels harbored obduracy in their hearts, the obduracy of the days of ignorance, then Allah sent down His tranquility on His apostle and on the believers, and made incumbent on them the words of righteousness, and they were better entitled to it. And Allah knows everything. Surah Fatah, verse 24 to 26. It was their obduracy due to which they did not show willingness to declare you a prophet of Allah and write Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and prevented the Muslims for visiting Allah's house. Imam Abu Abdullah said, Al-Urra Mu'arra means itching, Tazilu means they got separated, and Hamiyatul Qawm means I served them through help, and Hamiyatul Hami means I have made it such a pasture as is not allowed to be entered. And Al-Hamiyatul Hadid and Hamiyatul Rujul are said when you stir up someone and enrage him. Sahih Bukhari Hadith number 2731 and 2732.